Hi there, I'm Jim Hindson from The Cricketer, and a warm welcome here to Lords for the draw for the Voneus Village Cup 2022 season. So we're here at Lords. It's actually bathed in sunshine. Looks an absolute picture. We're in the committee room, and in just a few months' time, two lucky teams will be heading out onto the hallowed turf to play in the Voneus Village Cup final. That's taking place on Sunday, September the 18th. So that's one for the diary. We've got 340 teams in the draw this year. It's the 51st year of the competition, and I'm delighted to have been joined by Steve Layton, who is the CEO for Voneus Broadband. Voneus enjoyed a fantastic first year's association with the competition last year. Steve, you were here for the final. How was it?
It was a fantastic day out. It was a flagship day really for village cricket, and it was a tremendous pleasure for us to be associated with that event. And a good game of cricket as well.
And I know you're a cricket fan yourself, Steve, as well, and you must have enjoyed the final because we've got some fantastic news, and Voneus Broadband have extended their agreement as headline sponsors of the Village Cup through to 2025. That's an amazing support of the competition and investments in rural villages and grassroots sport.
Absolutely right, and it's a brilliant competition and event for us to be associated with. Nothing quite says village like a church, a pub, a cricket green and very bad broadband. And we're looking to solve that last problem for a lot of the villages, but actually this is a tremendous event for us to be associated with, and we're delighted to have extended our sponsorship.
That's fantastic news, Steve, and we're really chuffed this end, as will all of the 340 teams in this year and the other villages looking on. What we're going to do now is, if it's okay with you, we're going to ask you to draw out Group 1 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Scotland group. There's 5 teams in this group, so if you can draw out the first 2 balls, which will be the first fixture of the second round, and then we'll move on to the third round. So if you draw out the first ball there,
I'll do that, thank you. We have number 2.
Number 2 is Doon, and they will be at home in the second round to
number 5.
Number 5, which is Meadley, who got to the last 16 in 2021. So now the winners of Doon against Meadley will play the next ball you draw out in the third round. They'll be at home.
Number 1.
And they will be playing against Bute County. And the final 2 balls in for the third round, if you draw the next one out.
Number 3.
Number 3, which is Falkland, who were regional finalists in 2021, and they will play at home to
number 4.
Number 4, which is Fruki, who were champions in 1985, famous champions. Apparently there was no one in the village. Everyone came to Lords to watch that fantastic final in 1985, and that concludes the draw for Group 1. So we're going to move on to Group 2 now, which is the Northumberland Group. I've still got Steve here from Voneus Broadband. 6 teams in this group. 2 teams will get a bye. So if you can draw out the first time for round 2. So first team out
is number 6.
Number 6, which is Wolverston, who were regional champions in 2021, and they will be at home to...
We're home to number 2.
Number 2, which is Evenwood. And the final tie in the second round.
Number 3.
Number 3, which is Halton.
They will play number 5.
They will play number 5, which is Stocksfield, who were regional finalists in 2021. We're now going to draw out the third round ties, and the first ball, Steve, that you draw out will play the winners of the Wolverston and Evenwood fixture. Wolverston and Evenwood, the winners of that fixture will be at home, and they will play
number 4.
Number 4, which is Sacriston Colliery. And the next ball you draw out will play away to the winners of Halton against Stocksfield.
And that's number 1.
And that is number 1, which is Bomersund Welfare, who were champions back in 1974. So that concludes the third round draw for Group 2. So we're going to move on to draw out Group 3 of the Voneus Village Cup. Delighted to say we've still got Steve Layton here from headline sponsors Voneus. This is the North Yorkshire North Group, one of our larger groups. There's 17 teams in this group. There'll be one preliminary tie to get us down to the 16 teams that will play in round 1 proper. So playing in this preliminary round will be
Number 16.
Number 16, which is Thornton Le Moor.
Playing number 15.
Playing number 15, so that's Sutton on Hull. So that's the preliminary round, and the winners of Thornton Le Moor against Sutton on Hull, winners of that tie will play in the first round against
Number 7.
Number 7, Hensel. And the next tie for the first round will be
Number 1.
Number 1, which is Blubberhouses.
They will play number 6.
Number 6, which is Great Hampton.
Number 11.
Number 11, Sesse, 2 times champions, 2010-2016.
Number 10.
Play number 10, which is Rockcliffe Park.
Good catch. Number 2.
Number 2, Caton. They will be at home to
Number 14.
number 14, which is Staithes.
Number 12.
Number 12, Sheriff Hutton Bridge, who were champions in 2005, that famous Ashes year.
Against number 17.
It's number 17, Thornton Watlass.
Number 5.
Number 5, which is Forge Valley, 1986 champions. Lots of pedigree in this round.
And number 13.
Number 13, they will play against Silton.
Number 4.
Number 4, Folkestone and Flixton, 2018 winners.
Number 8.
Play against number 8, which is Heslington.
And finally, number 3.
Number 3, Eberston, will be at home against
Number 9.
number 9, which is Moors Home. So that concludes the draw for Group 3. So now we move on to Group 4 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the North Yorkshire South Group. There's 8 teams in this group, so we're straight through to round 2 with no byes. And I'm joined by the editor of the Cricketer, Hugh Turnbull. Hugh, you were here for last year's Voneus Village Cup final. Just tell us how it was.
That was amazing. I'll never forget the picture of Ben Johns, who scored a match-winning half-century, absolutely leaping in the air with delight when he scored the winning runs. We just had Jamie Cox here, Assistant Secretary of Cricket at MCC, the Tasmanian, and he said he won't forget that image either. It was it's an amazing concept that any cricketer from this country can reach this final and be the match winner.
Oh God, it was such a special day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, let's go on to round 2. Let's draw the first tie out. So away you go here.
Number 7.
So number 7 is Partrington, who were the 2021 regional finalists.
Number 2.
And they're going to play number 2, which is Oldham.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Abingham.
Number 8.
They'll be playing Staxton.
Number 6.
6 is Killinghall, who will be at home.
Number 5.
To number 5, which is Tyrone.
Number 4.
Number 4 is East Ardsley, and they'll be at home to
Number 3.
Number 3, which is Carlton Towers, the 2020 semi-finalists. So that's Group 4 of North Yorkshire South. So we're moving on to Group 5 now of the Voneus Village Cup, which is West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire and Humberside. Hugh, there's 12 teams in this round, so 4 teams will get a bye into round 2 and 8 teams will play in round 1 matches. So Hugh, if you can draw out first tie.
Number 2.
So number 2 is Broughton.
Number 10.
And they will play number 10, which is Rodley. Great Preston, they'll be at home.
Number 3.
To number 3, which is Drylington.
Number 12.
Number 12 is Thornton.
Number 11.
And they will be at home to number 11, which is Street House, the 2009 finalists.
Number 6.
Number 6 is Houghton Main, 2006 champions, 2019 finalists and quarter-finalists in 2021. So quite a pedigree there.
Absolutely, I remember their name, yeah. Number 9.
And number 9, which is Old Shalston. So that's the first round drawn out. We've got the 4 byes here, and we'll come back and see who these 4 teams are playing in the second round. Hugh, if you can draw out the first team, they will be playing away at either Broughton or Rodley.
Number 8.
And that's number 8, which is Middleton and North Dalton. And so the next team out will be playing against the winners of Great Preston versus Drylington.
Number 1.
And that is Atwood, so they'll be away in that tie. And then the next ball out will play the winners of Thornton versus Street House.
Number 4.
And that's number 4, which is Frickley Colliery.
Right. Leaving my favourite team.
And then the final team,
Number 7.
number 7. So they will be playing away at Houghton Main or Old Shalston, and number 7 is Kippat Welfare.
Fantastic name.
Yeah, and that concludes the draw for rounds 1 and 2 for Group 5. So we're now moving on to Group 6, which is Cumbria and North Lancashire. There's 12 teams in this group, meaning 4 teams will get a bye to round 2. So we're going to draw out the first round now. So Hugh, if you could draw out the tie number 1 in the first round.
3.
Number 3, which is Cleator, 2013 champions. Remember it vividly out there, fantastic win.
Number 1.
And they'll be playing against Burnside.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Edgeworth.
Number 7.
And they'll be playing against number 7, Lanecost.
Number 12.
Number 12 is Torrisholme, who were regional champions in 2021.
Number 9.
And they'll be playing against Reed.
Number 5.
Number 5, Great Eccleston.
Number 11.
And they'll be playing against number 11, which is Shires Head and Thornton. And that concludes the draw for round 1 of Group 6. We've got 4 teams left to draw out in the second round, and we'll come back to that after we put the teams on screen. The first team that you're going to draw out will play the winners of Cleator against Burnside, and they are number 2, which is Cartmel. Okay, the next ball out will play the winners of Edgeworth against Lanecost. All of the bye teams play away from home.
And it is number 10.
Number 10, which is Sabden. And the next ball out will play the winners of the Torrisholme versus Reed fixture.
6.
That's number 6, which is Grimsard. And the final ball out will play the winners of Great Eccleston against Shires Head and Thornton.
Number 8.
And that's number 8, which is Lindlemore 1977 finalists. So that concludes the second round for Group 6. Okay, so now we're moving on to Group 7 of the Voneus Village Cup, the South Lancashire Group. There's 12 teams in this group, so 4 clubs will be getting a bye into round 2. And so we're going to draw out the first round. There's going to be 4 fixtures. Hugh, if you can draw out the first ball.
12.
So number 12, which is Ree Green, and they'll be playing at home against
8.
number 8, which is Pendle Forest.
10.
Number 10 is Sedgwick.
Number 2.
And they'll be playing against Croston.
Number 9.
Number 9 is Rainford.
Number number 6.
And they'll be playing against Maudsley, and the final tie of the first round,
11.
number 11, which is Woodhouses, 2011 champions. They'll be at home to
5.
number 5, which is Foul Ridge. Okay, so that concludes the first round of Group 7. There's 4 teams left, and we'll come back to draw the second round out. There's 4 teams left in the bowl from the first round draw. They were the teams that got byes. They will be playing away in this round, and the first ball out will play the winners of the first tie out the first round, which was Reed Green against Pendle Forest, and that team is
7.
which is Milnthorpe. The next ball out will play the winners of Sedgwick against Croston.
1.
Number 1, which is Ainsdale. The next ball out will play the winners of Rainford against Maudsley.
4.
That's number 4, which is Edgerton, who were regional finalists in 2021. And the final ball out will play the winners of Woodhouses against Foul Ridge.
3.
And that's number 3, which is Daisy Hill. So that concludes the draw for the second round of Group 7. So now we're on to Group 8, which is Cheshire and Clwyd, and there's 15 teams in this group, so there's only 1 bye in this group, so there'll be 1 ball left after we've drawn out the first 7 fixtures. So if we draw out the first fixture,
10.
number 10, which is Northrop, and they'll be at home to
4.
number 4, which is Broadbottom.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Barrow,
6.
and they'll be playing against number 6, which is Holkin.
7.
Number 7 is Hawarden.
13.
They'll be playing against Staley.
5.
Number 5, which is Colby, who were champions in 1996 and 97. They'll be at home to
8.
number 8, which is Hawk Green.
3.
Number 3, which is Birchvale and Thornset.
1.
And they'll be playing against number 1, which is Alvanley, the 2021 finalists.
12.
Number 12 is Pontybludden.
9.
They'll be playing against number 9, which is Irby, so there's 3 balls left.
14.
Number 14, which is Tattenhall,
11.
and they will be playing against Over Peover, and so the winners of Tattenhall against Over Peover will be at home to the final ball out, which is
15.
number 15, which is Tranmere Victoria.
Great name.
And that concludes Group 8 of the Voneus Village Cup draw. So now we move on to Group 9 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Derbyshire Group. There's 10 teams in this group, so there'll be 2 fixtures in the first round, and the remaining teams will stay involved for the second round. So if you can draw out the first tie in the first round.
8.
Number 8, which is Shipley Hall,
2.
and they'll be playing against Dinting.
1.
Number 1 is Brailsford and Ednaston, and they will be at home to
7.
number 7, which is Ralston. So that concludes the first round of the draw, and we'll come back for the second round draw in just a second. The first 2 balls that you draw out will play the winners of the 2 fixtures in round 1. So if you can draw out the first ball, this team will be playing the winner of the Shipley Hall versus Dinting fixture.
Number 9.
And that's number 9, which is South Wingfield, who were quarter-finalists in 2021. And the next ball out will play the winners of Brailsford and Ednaston against Rolleston, so they'll play the winners of that first round tie, and it is
number
6, which is Old Glossop. And then the next tie in this round will be
3.
Number 3, which is Elverston, previous champions of the Village Cup.
4.
And then we're playing number 4, which is Holmesfield, which is a fantastic ground in there.
10.
Number 10, Stainsby Hall, will be at home to
5.
number 5, which is Langley Mill United. So that concludes the second round of Group 9, which is Derbyshire. Okay, so we're moving on to Group 10, which is the West Midlands Group. This is one of the smaller groups, so we're going to draw out the first round first. There's 4 teams that will play in the second round, and then 2 teams will get a bye into round 3. So if we can start with the second round, Hugh, we'll draw out the first team.
Number 5.
Number 5, which is Pelsall, and they will play at home against
6.
number 6, which is Quat.
3.
Number 3, which is Hodnet and Petlow.
4.
And they will play at home against Milford Hall. So that concludes the second round draw. So now, Hugh, we're going to move on to the third round of Group 10, the West Midlands Group, and there's 2 balls left in. They got byes from the second round, so the first ball out will play the winners of Pelsall against Quat away from home, and they are number 1, which is Burwarton, and the final team out of the bowl will play the winners of Hodnet and Petlow against Milford Hall. So again, this team will be away, and that team is number 2, which is Hindley, who were finalists in 1988. So that concludes the third round for Group 10. So we now move on to the draw for Group 11 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the East Midlands Group. It's where I'm from. And we've got 15 teams in this group, so there'll be 7 fixtures in round 1, and 1 team will get a bye through to round 2. Okay. So if you can draw out the first time.
3.
Number 3 is Burley Park, and they'll be at home to
6.
Number 6, which is Chepley.
2.
Number 2, which is Baston.
11.
And they'll be playing against Market Overton.
13.
Number 13, which is the Outcasts.
10.
And they'll be playing against number 10, which is Lubbock.
7.
7, which is Cropston.
8.
Playing against number 8, which is Cropwell.
12.
Number 12, which is Newtown Linford.
15.
And we're playing against number 15, which is Tutbury.
14.
14, which is Reedsby.
4.
And against number 4, which is Calverton.
9.
Good catch, Hugh. Number 9, which is Loudon, and they will be at home to
5.
number 5, which is Caister and Aylesworth. So the winner of the Loudon versus Caister and Aylesworth tie will be at home in round 2 to
Number
1, which is Barkby United. And that concludes the draw for Group 11. So now we move on to Group 12, which is Warwickshire. There's just 6 teams in this group, so 2 teams will get a bye into the third round. We're now drawing the second round, so you can draw out the first tie.
6.
So number 6, which is Water Autumn, they will play against
3.
number 3, which is Philongley, who were semi-finalists in 2018.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Buckinghamshire, and they will be at home to
Number 2.
number 2, which is Corley. The first ball you draw out will be playing away to either Water Autumn or Philongley, and that team is
5.
number 5, which is Temple Grafton, and the next team out will be playing away to either Bulkington or Cooley, 4. And that's number 4, which is Nether Whittaker. So that concludes the third round draw for Group 12. So now we move to Group 13 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Worcestershire region. We've got 9 teams in this group, so there'll be one fixture in the first round, and then the rest of the teams will go through to the second round. So if we draw the first round fixture, the only fixture of the first round, 4. Number 4, which is Cuckley, and they'll be at home to
8.
Number 8, which is Hagley. And so we're now going to move on to the second round. So the winners of Cuckley and Hagley, that first round tie, will be at home to
6.
Number 6, which is Exhall and Wixford, who were finalists in 2004.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Bredon.
7.
Number 7 is Beckenham.
9.
Number 9 is Hempsey.
3.
And they'll be at home to Bretforton.
Number 1.
Aswood Bank, who were finalists in 1974, 2003 and semi-finalists in 2019, and they will be at home to
5.
the 5 Dumbleton, who were quarter-finalists in 2020. That should be a cracking tie. And that concludes the second round draw for Group 13. So now we move on to Group 14 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Hereford and Powys round. There's 3 teams in this group, so it's the smallest group in this year's competition. The first 2 balls out the hat play in a third round tie, and then the last ball will be the away team against the winners of that third round tie. So if you can draw the first team out.
Number 1.
Number 1, which is Colwall, who were winners in 2020 here at Lord's.
3.
And they will play against West Malvern. And so moving on to the regional final, so the third round is Colwall against West Malvern, and the regional final will be either Colwall or West Malvern at home to Number 2, which is Found Hope Strollers. So that concludes Group 14. We're now moving on to Group 15 of the Voneus Village Cup, and this is the Northamptonshire Group. There's 6 teams in this group, so 2 teams will get a bye into the third round. So to draw out the first tie of the second round queue.
3.
Number 3, which is Horton House, they will be at home to
6.
Number 6, which is Weekley and Warkton.
1.
Number 1, which is Derby.
5.
They will be at home to number 5, which is Loddington and Morsley. The first ball that you draw out will play the winners of Horton House against Weekley and Warkton, and that team is
2.
Number 2, which is Haddon. And then the final team you draw out, they will play the winners of Barby against Loddington and Morsley, and that team is 4. Number 4, which is Kimbolton. So that concludes the draw for the third round of Group 15. So we are now moving on to Group 16 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Dyfed round. And we've got 7 teams in this group, so 1 team will get a bye into the third round. To draw out the second round ties, we're back with Hugh. So Hugh, you can draw out the first time.
The Land of My Fathers. Number 6.
Number 6, which is Loreni.
Number 1.
And they will play against Bromwick.
4.
Number 4, which is Daffin Welfare.
7.
They'll play against number 7, which is Lancashire.
3.
Number 3, which is Cresselly. And they will play against
5.
Number 5, which is Dreyfus. And so we've got 1 team remaining. That will be the winners of the Cresselly versus Dreyfus tie. So Hugh, if you draw that out.
2.
Number 2, which is Carew. So that concludes the third round draw for Group 16. So now we're moving on to Group 17 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Glamorgan and Gwent group. There's 9 teams in this group, so 2 teams will play in the first round and the remaining 7 teams will then play in the second round. So to draw out the tie in the first round, Hugh.
7.
Number 7, which is Tondu.
6.
And they will play against Sully Centurions, the 2004 champions. So the winners now, as we move on to the second round, the winners of Tondu against Sully Centurions will be at home in the second round to
9.
number 9, which is Innisgarin.
Number 8.
And number 8, which is Innistowie, 2001 champions. They will be at home in the second round to
Number 2.
number 2, which is Hopkinstown.
Number 5.
Number 5, Pentridge.
Number 1.
Will be at home against Baglan.
3.
Number 3, which is Lisbon.
4.
And they will play at home against Miskin Manor. And that concludes the draw for the second round of Group 17. So now we move on to Group 18 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Gloucestershire Group. We've got 10 teams in this group. 6 teams will get byes into the second round. So to draw out the 2 ties in the first round, Hugh, if you can draw out the first tie.
2.
Number 2 is Cam.
6.
And they will play against number 6, which is Kingsholm.
10.
Number 10, which is Winterbourne.
7.
And they will play against Marshfield. So that is the first round draw. So we're back on Group 18, the Gloucestershire Group, for the second round ties. And the first 2 balls that you draw out will play the winners of the first round ties. So the first ball drawn out will play the winners of Cam against Kingsholm, and that is
Number 1.
which is Apperley. They were finalists in 1988. And the next ball we draw out will play the winners of the Winterbourne against Marshfield tie.
Number 8.
Number 8, which is Painswick.
Number 4.
Number 4, which is Froster, finalists in 1993.
Number 3.
Playing against number 3, which is Corse and Staunton.
Number 9.
Number 9, which is Rockhampton, who were finalists in 2013, which is a cracking game, quarter-finalists in 2021.
5.
And they play against number 5, which is Gotherington. And that concludes the second round draw for Group 18. So now we move on to Group 19 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Oxfordshire Group. We've got 17 teams, so this is a big group. We've got 2 teams will play in the preliminary round, and we'll draw those out now, and then we'll move on to the first round proper. So these 2 balls will play in the preliminary round, and
10.
Number 10, which is Minster Lovell, and they will play against
6.
number 6, which is Hawley. So that's the preliminary round. So the winners of Minster Lovell against Hawley will be at home in the first round proper to
2.
number 2, which is Boldens.
3.
Number 3, which is Cropredy.
13.
They will play against Sanford St Martin.
12.
Number 12, which is Oxford Downs.
16.
They will be at home to 16, which is Steeple Aston. Good catch, Hugh.
Thank you. 15.
15 is Stanton Harcourt.
17.
And they will play against 17, which is Tinnington, who were finalists in 1995.
1.
Number 1, Aston Rowett.
14.
Will Play against number 14, Shipton under Wychwood, who were champions in 2002-2003, racing the Hallam Turf out there.
Back to back. Number 5.
Number 5, Great and Little Chew, finalists from 2014.
7.
Number 7, they will play against Horsepath.
8.
Number 8, Kingston Bagpuis. 4. Play against number 4, which is Cumbria.
11.
Number 11, Oxford and Bletchington Nondescripts.
Number 9.
We'll play against number 9, which is Langford. So that concludes the preliminary and first round draw for Group 19. So now we move on to Group 20 of the Voneus Village Cup, Dorset and Wiltshire Group. We've got 13 teams in this group, so that means we have 3 byes. So there'll be 3 balls left after this first round is drawn out. So if you can draw out the first team.
12.
Number 12 is Shrewton, and they will play at home to
8.
Number 8, which is Laycock.
4.
Number 4 is Chalk Valley.
2.
And they will play against Burbage and Eastern Royal.
3.
Number 3 is Cattistock.
6.
Play against number 6, which is Cold Hill.
Number 1.
Which is Box.
What a name for a one. 10.
Against number 10, which is Curtin. And then the final tie of the first round.
13.
13, Witchhampton will play against
7.
number 7, Go Taker, who were champions in 1988 and 1990. So that concludes the first round draw, and we'll draw out the second round. So welcome back to Group 20 for the second round draw. So already confirmed, the winners of Shrewton against Laycock will play the winners of Chalk Valley versus Burbage and Eastern Royal. So that second round fixture is already decided. The first ball you draw out, Hugh, will be away against the winners of Cattistock and Cold Hill. So you can draw that ball out.
11.
That's number 11, which is Redlinch and Hale. And then the next ball you draw out will be the winners of Box versus Purton.
5.
Number 5, which is Charlton Down. And the final ball you draw out will be the winners of the Witchhampton versus Go Taker fixture from the first round.
Number 9.
And that's number 9, which is Parley. So that concludes the second round draw for Group 20. Okay, so we're going to move on to Group 21 of the Voneus Village Cup draw, which is Buckinghamshire. We've got 10 teams in this group, so we've got 2 fixtures in the first round. The rest of the teams will go into the second round. So if you can draw out the first round ties, please. That's
5.
Number 5, which is Kimball. They will be at home to
4.
number 4, which is Dinton.
7.
Number 7 is Stoke Green, who was semi-finalists in 2021 last year.
6.
And they will play against number 6, which is Mersley. So that concludes the first round draw, and we'll come to... So now we move to the second round of Group 21. So the first ball you draw out will play the winners of Kimball against Dinton from the first round. Kimball and Dinton will be at home against
1.
Number 1, which is the Ballinger Wagoners. And the next ball you've drawn out will play away at the winners of Stoke Green against Mersley.
3.
Number 3, which is Buckland and Aston Clinton. Number 10 is Winchmore Hill.
Number 9.
Number 9, Whitchurch.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Bledlow Village, and they will play at home to
8.
number 8, which is Westbury. So that concludes the draw for the second round of Group 21. So now we move on to Group 22, the Voneus Village Cup draw. This is the Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire Group. It's a 10-team group, so we'll be drawing out 2 fixtures in the first round, and the remaining teams will play in the second round. So playing in the first round, first team out will play at home.
6.
Number 6, which is Redbourne, finalists in 2020.
Number 1.
We'll play against number 1, Bayford and Hertford nondescripts.
Number 4.
And number 4, Long Marsden will play at home to
Number 8.
Number 8, which is Sawbridgeworth. So that's the first round ties, and we'll come on to the second round ties. About to draw the second round of Group 22. So the first ball you draw out will play the winners of the first round tie between Redbourne and Bayford and Hertford nondescripts, and they are
3.
Which is Langleybury, who were finalists in 1996. And the next ball you draw out will play the winners of Long Marsden against Sawbridgeworth.
2.
That's number 2, which is Datchworth.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Preston. They will be at home to
9.
which is Sharnbrook and Bromham.
7.
Number 7 is Reed, who were champions in 2012, 2017, 2019. Quite a pedigree there.
10.
And they will play against number 10, which is Wheat Hapstead. So that concludes the second round draw for Group 22. So now we're going to move on to Group 23, Essex and Suffolk, competition's biggest group, 23 teams battling it out to get through and out of this group. 9 teams will be left in, they will get byes through to the first round proper. Hugh, can you draw out the preliminary round ties, please?
Suffolk, my home county, 21.
Number 21, Woodham Mortimer.
15.
Number 15, which is Matching Green.
12.
12, Lakenheath.
14.
Number 14, Little Barfield Village.
17.
Number 17, South Weald.
11.
Number 11, Ingatstone and Freining.
6.
Number 6, Easton.
13.
Number 13, which is Little Baddow.
4.
Number 4, Chapel and Waits Hole.
16.
Number 16, Rettendon.
7.
Number 7, Great Totham.
10.
Number 10, Horndon on the Hill. And the final preliminary round fixture,
20.
which is Thorpeness.
New to the competition last year. 18.
Number 18, Stock. So that concludes the preliminary round draw for Group 23. We'll be back with the first round proper in just a second. Okay, so we're going to move on to the first round of Group 23. So the next ball you draw out, we will be playing away from home against the winners of the preliminary round fixture between Woodham Mortimer and Matching Green. And that team is
8.
Number 8, Great Waltham. And the next ball out will draw, we'll play against the winners of Lakenheath and Little Bardfield Village.
19.
19, Stradbroke.
23.
So 23, which is Worlington, will play against the winners of South Weald and Ingatstone and Freining.
Wellington Morris scored one of my 2 league hundreds. 3.
Number 3 is Bentley. They will play away at the winners of the Eastern versus Little Beddoe tie.
Number 9.
Little Baddoe tie.
Number 9.
Number 9 is High Roding, and they will play away against the winners of the Chapel and Waits Colne versus Rettendon tie. And the next ball you draw out will play against the winners of Great Totham versus Horndon on the Hill.
And it's number 2.
Number 2, and that's Ardley Green and Havering at Bower. And the next ball you draw out will play against the winners of the Thorpeness versus Stock fixture.
And it's number 1.
Number 1, which is Abberton and District. So we've got 2 balls left in who will play against each other to see who plays at home.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Eastburg Holt.
Beautiful. Number 22.
And they'll play against number 22 Woolpit, who were regional champions in 2021. So that concludes the draw for the first round of Group 23. So now we move on to the draw for Group 24 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Surrey Group. 11 clubs in this group, so 5 buys. The teams playing in the first round though, if you draw that out first. So
Number 10.
Number 10, Rowledge, will be at home to
Number 8.
which is Ottershaw.
Number 3.
Number 3, Blackheath, will be at home to
Number 6.
number 6, Frensham.
Number 11.
And number 11, Valley End, will be at home to, they were champions actually in 2008, Valley End.
Number 9.
Number 9, Outwood. So that concludes the draw for the first round. We'll come back to the second round, which will include the teams that got the bye in just a second. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second round draw for Group 24, the Surrey Group. The first ball we draw out will play the winners of the first round tie between Rowledge and Ottershaw, and that team is
5.
number 5, East Horsley. And the next team out will play the winners of Blackheath against Frensham.
Number 7.
And that is Oakwood Hill. And the next team out will play the winners of the Valley End versus Outwood tie.
Number 1.
That's number 1, Addington 1743. And so there's 2 balls remaining. The first ball you draw out will be at home in the second round, and they are for Churt, and they will play against 2. Number 2, which is Badshot League. So that concludes the draw for Group 24, this Surrey region. Okay, so now we're going to draw Group 25 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Berkshire Group. There are 11 teams in this group, so 5 will get buys into the second round, but if you can draw out the first round ties, please.
Number 5.
Number 5, Peppered Stoke Row.
Number 10.
Against number 10, which is White Waltham.
Number 9.
Number 9, which is Walgrave.
Number 7.
Against number 7, Purley on Thames.
Number 8.
Number 8, Sunning will be at home in the final fixture of the first round to
Number 3.
number 3, which is Embrook and Bearwood. Okay, so that concludes the first round draw. So now we move on to the second round draw for Group 25, the Berkshire Group, and the first ball we draw out will play the winners of the Peppered Stoke Row fixture versus White Waltham.
Number 4.
And that's Morton. And the next ball you draw out will play the winners of Wargrave versus Purley on Thames.
Number 11.
Number 11, which is Raisbury, and the next ball we draw out will play the winners of Sunning versus Embrook and Bearwood.
Number 6.
That's number 6, which is Pinckney's Green. There's 2 teams left in, so the first team you draw out will be the home side in this tie.
Number 2.
Which is Cookham Dean.
Jim Rosenthal's side.
Okay.
And that leaves number 1.
They're going to play against number 1, which is Binfield. So that concludes the draw for the second round of Group 25. So we're now moving on to Group 26 of the Voneus Village Cup draw. This is the Hampshire Group, a big group with 15 teams. There's going to be 7 ties in round 1 and 1 team will get a bye into round 2. So first round ties, you can draw out you.
Number 12.
Number 12, which is Sparsholt, and they will play against
Number 10.
number 10, which is Overton.
8.
And number 8, which is Loxheath, will play against
6.
number 6, which is Hook and Newnham Basics.
Number 4.
And number 4, Easton and Martha Worthy
14.
will play against number 14, which is Titchbourne Park.
2.
Number 2, which is Bramshaw,
11.
play against number 11, which is Paultons.
Number 1.
Number 1, Amport,
13.
playing number 13, which is Sway.
15.
Number 15, Vendor.
On the white.
Yeah.
Number 7.
Playing number 7, Hursley Park, champions in 1992 and finalists in 1984.
3.
Number 3, Calmore Sports,
Champions.
champions from 2021, famous champions. First attempt as well.
Number 5.
We'll play number 5, which is Hambledon, who played the final in 1989.
The cradle of cricket.
We're going to summarise those fixtures on screen and then come back for a very short second round draw in just a second. Just going to finish off with the second round of the Voneus Village Cup Group 26 Hampshire tie. There's only one team left in the bowl. They got the bye from the first round. They will play away at the winners of Calmore against Hambledon, and that team is Hugh.
Number 9.
Number 9, which is Oakley. So now we'll give you a full summary of those second round fixtures for Group 26. Okay, so now we move on to Group 27 of the Voneus Village Cup. Draw Somerset and Avon Group. 11 teams in this group, which means 5 teams will get byes into the second round. Hugh, can you draw out the first round, please?
7.
So number 7, Shetwick and Polden will be at home.
11.
Play against number 11, which is Wendon.
Number 1.
Number 1, Chew Magna.
Good name. Number 3.
Play against number 3, Lodway.
Number 6.
Number 6, Purnell, will be at home in the final round of this tie to
Number 10.
number 10, which is Uphill Castle. So that is the first round, and we'll come back to the second round tie, which will include the teams that got byes, in just a few seconds. Okay, so now we'll move on to the second round of Group 27, Somerset and Avon. The first ball you draw out, they will play away against the winners of Shetwick and Polden and Wempton.
Number 4.
Which is North Perrott, semi-finalists in 2020. The next ball you draw out will play the winners of Chew Magna and Lodway.
That's number 5.
Number 5, North Peckerton. Next ball you draw out will play the winners of Purnell versus Uphill Castle.
That's number 9.
Number 9, Timsbury, finalists in 2006. So the final tie you draw out, the first team will play at home in the second round.
Number 8.
Number 8, which is Stapleton, and they will take on
Number 2.
number 2, Cumbria. So that concludes the second round draw of Group 27. Okay, so now we're on to Group 28 of the Voneus Village Cup. Devon and Cornwall Group. There's 7 teams in this group, so one team will go straight to round 3 with a bye. The other 6 teams will play off in round 2. So the first team in the second round playing at home will be
Number 1.
which is Grandpound Road, and they will play against
Number 5.
number 5, which is St Morgan in Pedar.
Number 4.
And then number 4, which is Roche, will play against
Number 7.
number 7, which is Yelverton Bohemians.
Number 2.
Number 2, Gulval, play against
Number 6.
number 6, which is Tintagel. We'll move on to the third round ties. Number 1, Grandpound, the winners of Grandpound Road against St Morgan in Pedar will play against the winners of Roche against Yelverton Bohemians. and the other tie in the third round will see the winners of Goulvell against Tintagel playing against the final ball in the pot, which is number 3, Perranporth. So that concludes the draw for the second and third round of Group 28. So now we're going to move on to Group 29 of the Voneus Village Cup, which is the Cambridgeshire and Norfolk Group. There's 12 teams in this group, so that means we'll have 4 teams who will get byes to the second round. So drawing the first round, Hugh.
Number 4.
Number 4, Foxton, who were finalists here at Lord's 2015. They'll play at home to
5.
Number 5, which is Heatherset and Tass Valley.
Number 9.
Number 9, Overstrand.
Number 11.
Play number 11, which is Wilburton Oak Trees.
Number 1.
Number 1, Coton.
6.
Play number 6, Histon. And the final tie of the first round,
12.
Number 12, Winterton.
7.
Play number 7, which is Milton. So that concludes the first round tie. We'll come back with the second round with the teams who got byes in just a second. So now we move to the second round of Group 29, the Cambridgeshire and Norfolk Group, and the first ball we draw out, Hugh, they'll be playing away against the winners of Foxton and Heatherset and Tass Valley, and they are?
Number 2.
Number 2, Eton Soken. And the next team will play the winners of Overstrand versus Wilburton Oak Trees.
Number 3.
Number 3, Fordham. Next ball out will play the winners of Cotton against Histon.
Number 10.
Number 10, Thriplow. And the final ball out will play the winners of Winterton against Milton.
And it's number 8.
And number 8, that's Nassington. So that concludes the second round draw for Group 29. So now we move to Group 30, the East Sussex Group of the Voneus Village Cup draw. There's 11 teams in this group, so there will be 5 teams who get byes into the second round. So Hugh, if you can draw out the first round ties, please.
Number 2.
Number 2, Buxted Park.
Number 9.
We'll play number 9, Plumpton and East Chiltington.
Number 3.
Number 3, Chiddingly.
Number 11.
Play number 11, Waldron.
6.
Number 6, Hadlow Down. Play against
Number 1.
number 1, Bells U Green. So that concludes the first round draw. Okay, so we're now moving on to the second round of Group 30, and the first ball that you draw out will play the winners of Buxted Park and Plumpton and East Chiltington.
It's number 4, Jim.
Number 4, Crowhurst Park. And the next ball we draw out will play the winners of Chiddingly against Walden.
Rottingdean.
So that's
10,
number 10, Rottingdean, who were finalists in 2011. And the next ball we draw out will play
Number 7.
the 5. Will play the winners of the Hadlow Down versus Bells U Green tie, which is number 7, Little Common. So there's 2 balls left. The first ball out will be the home side in the second round tie, and they are
Number 8.
number 8, which is Mayfield, and they will play
Number 5.
number 5, Glyn and Beddingham, who were champions in 2009, and that concludes the second round tie for Group 30. So now we'll move on to Group 31 of the Voneus Village Cup draw, which is the West Sussex Group. We've got 7 teams in this group playing in this group. 1 team will get a bye to the third round, so drawing the second round ties, Hugh, draw the first team out.
Number 1.
Number 1, which is Bedhampton Mariners, and they will play
Number 4.
which is Findon, who were finalists in 2007.
Number 6.
Number 6, Liphook and Ripsley, finalists in 2018.
Remember them. Number 2.
Against number 2, which is Elstead.
Number 7.
Number 7 is West Chiltington and Fakenham.
Number 3.
Number 3, which is Emsworth. So we'll move on to the third round ties. Got one ball remaining. They will play the winners of West Chiltington and Fakenham and Emsworth, and that team is
5.
Number 5, which is Iffield. So that concludes the second and third round draw for Group 31. So now we move to Group 32, which is Kent, the final draw for the Voneus Village Cup. There's 13 teams in this group, so 3 teams will get a bye into round 2. So drawing the first round, Hugh, first team.
Number 8.
Number 8, Leeds and Broomfield.
Number 5.
We're playing number 5, which is Falcon Guzzlers.
Yeah, there'll be
Sam Billings' family's team.
Right, Falcon, right. Okay. They'll have a big rigorous team, won't they? Number 1.
And number 1, Addington Village.
On the Tram Network. Number 6.
Playing number 6, which is Grenfell.
Number 2.
Number 2, Bearsted.
Number 13.
Playing number 13, West Farley.
Number 12.
Number 12 is Sipton Park.
Number 9.
Playing number 9, which is Linton Park, who were champions in 1978 and 1999. The final tie.
Number 11.
Number 11, Selling Cavaliers.
Number 3.
And they will play against number 3, Bidborough. So that concludes the first round draw for Group 32. We'll come back for the second round, and the teams have got the byes in just a few seconds. So we're moving on to the second round draw for Group 32, which is the Kent Group. The first tie of the second round with the winners of Leeds and Broomfield and Falcon Guzzlers. They will take on the winners of Addington Village and Grenfell. And then the next ball that you draw out will be Bearsted or West Farley will take on
Number 4.
Number 4, which is Amesford, who were finalists in 2005. The next ball you draw out will take on the winners of Sipton Park and Linton Park. And they are
Number 7, Jim.
number 7, which is High Holster. And the final ball in the competition, in this draw, they will play away at the winners of the fixture between Selling Cavaliers and Bidborough, and they are
Number 10.
Number 10, which is Offham. So that concludes the Voneus Village Cup draw for 2022. Thanks very much for watching the draw. There's 340 teams competing to play here at Lord's on the hallowed turf, and it's been a fantastic day for the draw. Fantastic blue skies, the ground's looking amazing, and that final on Sunday, September the 18th. Just to finish off, again, a massive thanks to all of the club's support of the competition. We wish you the very best of luck, and also a thank to the sponsors, Voneus Broadband, who are the headline sponsors. Remember, they've extended their agreement till the end of 2025, so fantastic support of grassroots rural cricket. Also, Theakston Brewery, fantastic official sponsors as well as Bowler, who make those brilliant bowler machines, and our official charity as well, the Lord's Tanders, who do such amazing work. So thanks very much for watching. From myself and Hugh Turville, editor of The Cricketer here at Lord's, it's goodbye and best of luck for the 2022 season.